Faith Elizabeth, thank you so very much for joining me. It's wonderful to see you. Oh my God, you look beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And you are in the UK. So thank
Yeah.
you. So we're doing a little time traveling here. You are definitely a mover and a shaker. You get things done. And I find that so inspiring. And you inspire so many other people. You founded Yes Ye Can, or Yes Ye Con, for the Cannes Film Festival, which is coming up this May. I would love to talk about that. But before we jump into that, you are a filmmaker yourself,
Mhm.
right? I would love for you to give our audience a little background about what you do and where your true passion lies.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me and for that lovely introduction. That was really lovely. So yeah, thank you. Um, I started in the industry as an actress, as a lot of us do, and had a wonderful experience, but I started feeling like maybe I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted. And so I started moving into producing to facilitate some of my acting roles, which was great. But there was still something missing, I think. And so then I started looking into writing and directing. And I think that's where I've really found my home. And although I still do act and I still do produce, I think telling the story from that perspective is really special to me. So the first piece that I directed was a short film called My Baby Cries, and it was looking at miscarriage and baby loss. And I did act, write, produce, direct that one. So it was a lot, but it was a really good experience. And I think doing all of those things made me realize how important I think it is that women tell their stories and that we get the opportunity to share them from our own voice. So, following on from that, I directed a short film called Granny DJ, which is doing its festival circuit at the moment. It's a
Um,
very different type of film. The first film was like a dark drama. Granny DJ is a horror comedy, so I sort of wanted to play and do something different. I think sometimes when you don't get to train in something, you don't always know what your style is or what you really want to be doing. And I think because My Baby Cries was such a sad, heavy film and it was about my own miscarriage that I'd suffered, I think I did want to do something that was a bit louder and more bold. But I ended up writing a story about my mum dying. So although it was a comedy at its heart, in the end it ended up being a bit of an emotional punch to that one as well, as we circled this sort of granny character who's pushing everyone away because she's dying and she thinks that she's protecting them, but in actuality, they're all really struggling because they don't understand what's happening with her. And although Granny is very different to my mum, I think there was a lot of my mum in that, in the way that she really wanted to protect everyone and she would squirrel away and go to doctor's appointments. And when her cancer came back the second time, she didn't tell anyone for such a long time. So by the time we were finding things out, it was quite difficult. So yeah, we sort of circle that with this granny DJ who's also fighting zombies.
Yeah, I have to ask when you write, okay, as an artist, we always do what we're most close to. But when
Mm.
something like that's very, very, very close to you, where there's like a lot of emotional stuff, what is that like for you as a filmmaker to make that happen? Are you able to separate yourself or do you use it with what you do?
I think I've got a really good ability to switch on and off in different brains. I think it's probably connected to my ADHD. And so when I was acting and directing in My Baby Cries, I was really able to compartmentalize my emotions and also like suspend it so it was held. So I could then look at something objectively and then go back and pick up the scene where I left off. But there were a few moments when we were filming that I did feel it was overwhelming. But one of them was we were shooting the final scene of the film, and I'd made a nursery, and I had physically painted all of the paintings for it. I'd made the baby decorations and everything. And then there were actual baby scans of my baby that had died as well. And as we were shooting, I did just look around me and I was like, whoa, like this is a lot. But I think for me, in a lot of ways, it's also a way of processing those emotions. So although it happened 10 years before I made the film, so it wasn't fresh in that same way. I think it was helpful for me as an actor to draw on those experiences, but it wasn't like I wasn't method acting, like, oh, I'm going to sit here and think about something that was horrible and now bring that to my performance. I think ever since I was a child, I've always just been able to bring emotions to the surface very easily. So it felt more natural to me to literally just be sitting there preparing for the scene and then seeing the scan of my baby, and then suddenly it's like, okay, this is going to be a lot. But then the final part of the scene, they're crying. And actually, the DOP at one point thought that I was struggling emotionally, but like real life. And he actually put the camera down, and the crew left the set. And then I finished crying, and then they came back and we picked it up. But I was a little bit upset because I was like, if that was me in charge, I would have said, don't you move that camera, because sometimes you get something special in those moments as well. But I could see it was a respect thing, and me being the director, it was difficult to be like, should we continue? Um, but yeah, I think it's quite special when you act and direct like that, because I can change my performance by watching it back and then thinking about what I'm going to do differently, while also staying in that suspended place instead of sort of switching out. Or, you know, part of directing is also articulating what you want to the other actors. But I think for me, it's quite a special experience to both act and direct. But in Granny DJ, I didn't act. I decided just to direct and to see what that was like. So that was a different experience entirely.
That's wonderful to use those kind of experiences because you grow so much. I think there's so many different levels to filmmaking. You're the artist, you're creating a world, and you grow so much as you do it. So to use a story that you've already experienced, you're really getting this inner strength telling it, which I think ends up helping other people, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
think that's very exciting. So Granny fights zombies. Who are these zombies?
Yeah.
This sounds really awesome.
Well, I will spoil it. But basically, she's written some DJ tracks herself, and it's her processing her idea that she needs to sort of put on this smile and push down her emotions and just get on with things. So she writes a track called Grin and Bear It, and when an electrical storm hits, it's playing in the ears of the ravers, and so they then become essentially hypnotized by the song. So they end up with these big smiles that sort of emphasizing this idea of grinning through the pain. And most of the destruction that they do is actually against themselves in the similar ways that they've been hurting themselves. So there's a guy who's drinking excessively and he's like smashing the beer glass and he's causing pain through the alcohol. There's another guy who's vaping and he stabs himself with the vape pen in the neck. um, but to emphasize the way that he's maybe coping and smiling through the pain while using these different techniques. So yeah, they sort of turn on her and they're her squad because they're her loyal ravers that come and listen to her clubbing nights. So she's particularly devastated that she has to kill a few of them.
It sounds like fun. It really does. So once it's done making the festival circuit, do you plan on showing it anywhere on any type of platform?
Yeah, so we're talking with a platform at the moment called Bloodstream TV. They're actually one of our sponsors in Cannes this year. But I think that what they do is really interesting because they offer a 50-50 split with filmmakers for putting your shorts and features on their platform. And so they're sort of very genre horror based. So there's an audience already on the platform. But then I think it could be an interesting place to send people who are looking to see it afterwards because, they really do want to see how they can support the filmmakers in getting a bit more of that control back financially. And as many people know, shorts don't really make a lot of money, but this could be potentially a way that they could find an audience, but also bring maybe some pocket change back as well.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, yeah, because you have to, keep making more movies. You have to just keep.
Yes, exactly. I
It
was
doesn't
saying this
stop.
the other day. It's tough when you're still in the shorts arena
Oh,
because it just costs money and you can't really make a lot back. So, yeah, if we've got more ways of making money on shorts, it's definitely going to help filmmakers. Especially, I think if you can do a few shorts, it really helps you hone your craft. So we do need to see how we can support, filmmakers to keep making shorts. and yeah, keep getting money back in.
Well, I love that you want to help people, do that. Is that what inspired you to start Yes, She Can?
Well, yes, she can started actually because I was attending Cannes. I think it was my third year that I'd been going, and I was completely in love with the festival. I just thought it was the most amazing place, like magic of cinema, but also, getting to learn so much and meet so many people. And it was just as the Me Too movement was happening. And we heard a lot in the news around Weinstein and around what had been happening at Cannes with him. And I think it was my dad who said to me, like, why are you going to this festival if it's so dangerous? And, there's these people there, and, I don't think you should be going. And I just had this realization that if my dad was saying that and he's not even in the industry, what were other women thinking? And if women are starting to not go to Cannes because of all the publicity around what happened with the Me Too movement, that's actually the opposite of what we wanted. And so it started as a very grassroots, well, you know, I'm just a small indie actress and I'm going to Cannes and I think it's really great to be there and there's a lot to learn. So maybe we need to promote that and tell other people, it's more accessible than you think. You just need to understand how the system works. And so we did a very basic campaign, sort of putting out these little membership profiles, just saying, hey, look at this woman who's attending. This is what she does in the industry. This is why she's attending. And that first year, we even had a few people that applied to attend just because they saw our posts. And they'd said, like, oh, I work in the art department. I've never thought that Cannes was for me. I thought you had to be an A-list celebrity or something to attend. And, a few of them ended up attending because of that. And then that year we had a couple of get-togethers, and I just noticed this real power with the community where can be quite overwhelming, and even if you know people, sometimes it does feel quite isolating. And I think in that community we saw people really forming like genuine friendships, and those friendships were giving them so much confidence to then go into the festival. And even if it was just a message on the WhatsApp group, just because they were feeling lonely or something, I think when you've got a community that's rooted in supporting each other, we really try and encourage everyone to reach out if they need something or if they want something. And I think everyone is also really giving as well. So that's sort of how it started, where people have always been very supportive of each other. And then over the years, we've grown to say, well, what else do women need at Cannes? Like, how can we make it better? How can we not just encourage women to attend, but see what structurally needs to change? Whether that's in terms of giving advice around accommodation, or we host our accommodation now as well, or whether that's education beforehand. Like, we have lots of resources so you can learn different things that you might be interested in. Um, so yeah, we try and look at all different things, and then now we're also, hosting official programming with the Marché. So we're actually influencing the festival from the inside. So we get to be within the market and have the conversations with the people that we think to have their voices within those global industry spaces that sometimes don't get that opportunity.
Such a short amount of time, you've grown so much. What would you say has been the biggest change over the years?
I think I've seen a lot of changes when we've been sort of adding to our programming. We're trying to always look to see how we can offer something new and how we can expand to like meet the needs of people. I used to do everything manually. So I used to process all of the membership profiles and everything. So I'm learning automated systems now. So I actually have a system where if you register, you get an automatic email that's sent to you. Whereas I used to send them by hand. As we're growing and expanding, I'm able to take on more and then bring in people to support us more. So when we first started, it was very much sort of just me doing what I felt I could do. And actually, at some point, we realized we were quite limited because it used to be completely free and I just didn't have the time. And I was actually working a minimum wage job at the time to pay to go to Cannes myself. And then I needed to make an extra bit of cash to also pay for the events that we were doing in Cannes. Those actually, if we could charge some kind of membership fee, that we would have so much more power to do so much and provide so much more. And so since we've started bringing on sponsors and partners and sort of charging a membership fee like that, the expansion has been tenfold. Like, I think we've grown more in the last 2 years than we grew in the 8 years before that.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, what's so wonderful is it seems like you have this group all year long. So it's just not the few days in Cannes or Con.
Yeah. Yeah, so we try and look at it like a cyclical thing where we start the support before the festivals so that you can ask questions and prepare, whether that's advice on applying or, just getting a sense of whether you feel like Cannes is right for you this year. And then obviously during the festival we have a lot, but then after the festival we have calls where we talk about people's progress and encourage them with their follow-ups and connecting with people. And then also the group then exists throughout the year when we have meetups and calls and things as well. It's like a real community that continues to support each other. And some people in the community have gone on to work together as well, but it hasn't been the root of what the community's for. Like there's lots of communities that are built for bringing different people together to get work to work with each other. And that's great, but that's not really what the core of what we do is. Our sort of core is more around creating those authentic relationships so that you've got the support structure and you've got people who are genuinely rooting for you. And you'll find little cliques within that and your little groups that you get on with. And that we've noticed from there that, those friendships really are developing over time. And, I was just looking at some pitch decks this week about a couple of people that are looking to work together as well on some things as well. So it's exciting to see how the community supports each other and how that then continues throughout the year.
Now, you're primarily based in London, is that correct? Or have
I'm
you?
actually in Brighton, just outside of
Right.
London. Yeah.
So, would you say most of the core group of people are in that area, or would you say they're all over Europe or all over the world?
I think we have something like 60% of our members are in the UK, and within that, most of them are around the London area. And but we have members all over the world. Like we have two coming from New Zealand this year. We have many coming from America. We have different members coming from, all over Europe. Have a couple coming from India. So yeah, there's members all over the globe that come together for the community, which is exciting. And we're always looking to see, how we can expand in different like territories as well to get the message out. But I think the thing about Cannes is because it's such an expensive thing to go to, if you're coming from New Zealand, it's $3,000 for them just to fly to Cannes. So it's quite a big investment, and so we don't see as many people in their early careers coming from places that are a bit further away. And it's harder with the exchange rates, like in India as well. Like the investment to come is quite significant. So I think we're quite fortunate in the UK that we can book a flight for 100 quid and we can, stay for a couple of nights if we want to, because it's only an hour. So yeah, it means that it's much more accessible for us in England, but also in Europe. But yeah, I think throughout the rest of the world, it is a much bigger investment.
Would you recommend a newbie who really wants to be in the business to go to con, or would you say it's better for a more intermediate or established filmmaker?
I think Cannes is for everyone. They have programs from everyone from student filmmakers and film fans all the way through to the biggest blockbusters in the world. So there is something for everyone. I think it's less about where you're at in the industry and more about where you're personally at with your circumstances and your career. So if you have the time off, if you have some money that you can invest, and it aligns with your bigger goals of what you're trying to do, then I think it could be a great investment. People sometimes think coming to Cannes is like spend loads of money, come once, do it really well, meet Steven Spielberg, get 100 million for your movie and everything's great. But the reality of Cannes is that it's much more relationship focused and it's more like a marathon than a sprint. So you want to be coming back and you want to be forming relationships with those people, maybe seeing them at other festivals as well. But this industry is so heavily built on relationships because, lots of people can do lots of different roles. And every project you do, you're often, interviewing like you would interview for a job every single time. So ultimately, I think it comes a lot down to the relationships that you have rather than like the skill. Because, how many people are skilled enough to AC on your movie? Like, thousands of people are skilled enough, but it's probably the relationship that the DOP has with the AC that's going to make him choose that one over a different one. My dog.
Oh, that's Coco.
My daughter, she's just come in.
With hi.
Sorry.
All
The
right.
dog goes crazy when the door goes. Um, yeah, so like ultimately it's, the AC that has that relationship with the DOP, and that's why they often choose one over another. And I think nearly every job in the industry is like that. And so if you can form those relationships on a really authentic level and you can be building them over time, that is where those relationships evolve and that you get to a place where you can work on something. Because again, like an actor coming to Cannes, it's very unlikely that you'll just come to Cannes and get cast in a movie straight away. I was cast in a movie once from a director that I met in Cannes, but it's not often like that. What it's normally like is showing up, meeting a director, having that relationship, connecting online, talking to them over a period of time.
Mhm.
That develops, then suddenly a project comes up, the role is right for you, it's the right size part, it's in the right country, all of these things that have to align that then you might work together. But I think the other thing about Cannes that's very special is that people connect each other quite a lot. So it might not just be about what you need, but about someone that you've met. And I think if you can become really good at connecting people and learning what people need so that you can then make introductions, I think that's a really undervalued skill in this industry. And through doing that, you will also meet more people as well. And so those people, we calling them helpers, those helpers that help you meet, someone like that are really valuable for your career as well.
Did you just go to the Berlin Festival?
I didn't. No, I do want to go to Berlin at some point. It's just so difficult for me because there's so much to do for Cannes.
Right.
I really have to focus my time. So I was invited to go this year, but I decided not to. I keep saying I'll do Berlin at some point. I did Venice a couple of years ago, which is in August. And that was an interesting experience. It's a very different festival. It's interesting to do both and then to compare. Like Venice is very spread out. Everything is a boat ride away. So it's quite glamorous, like if you're riding on one of these sort of water taxis. But if you have to take the water ferry that everybody takes, because the water taxis are very expensive, then it's, you could be waiting for an hour just to take a boat to get back to your apartment. So yeah, it's interesting to see the differences in festivals. And obviously Berlin is very cold, so I think that changes a little bit of the atmosphere. And Berlin is much more focused on the market. So although they do have the film side, I think the market is much bigger in Berlin than the festival itself. And so there's a lot of meetings and things, but I think also they don't have as many parties. So a friend of mine started a festival that's sort of has a few screenings, but also it does evening parties and things. And the reason she did that was because she'd been attending Berlin quite a lot and complaining that there wasn't enough sort of nightlife. So she started this festival to then, bring some nightlife into Berlin. Um, but yeah, I hear it's also very spread out, which can be, I think, challenging when you're trying to go to a festival and things. But I think it's interesting to see, yeah, the differences. Like if you're looking for a market and you've got relationships in Europe and you don't want to wait for Cannes, then I think Berlin can be really good. And again, if you're going to reconnect with people that you've met in Cannes or other festivals around the world, I think that's also really valuable. A few of our friends also reconnected with people they saw last year in Berlin, and then they've now got meetings set up for Cannes. So I think doing it like that can also help as well. But yeah, I think it's the same with Cannes. Like you have to look at what your goals are and what you're really trying to achieve right now, and then aligning them with your budgets and your energy and your time to work out what's the best use of it.
I think that's the biggest challenge for some people, though, is to really figuring out what they really want. Really stick to that. But
Yeah.
time being open to meet other people. So it's not like you're just so focused, you're not paying attention to the world around you.
Yeah,
A balance.
yeah, you have to be present in every conversation because otherwise you can feel when someone's looking over your shoulder and they're thinking, "Oh, I don't want to be talking to you." Yeah. I think it does take a minute to work out your goals, but if you really do sit down and do it, I think it's more simple than it sounds. Like you could be thinking 10 steps ahead when you should be thinking one or two steps ahead, you know? Like what are you actually trying to do right now? Are you a feature film director that's working at this level of budget and you want to move up to this level of budget? Okay, what does that mean for you then? Does that mean that you need to make relationships with producers of a certain level so that you can access that money? Does that mean that you need to look at people who are financing that level? Does it mean you need to learn about structuring of the film to see what talent need to come on board? Like, do you need to look at what co-productions you need? Like, you can really look at it and say, it's actually not that many options from where you are now to what your next couple of steps are. And if you focus on the next couple of steps, that's going to be what's best for you, whilst also meeting people and forming relationships because you know that, okay, today they might not be helpful and it might not be the person you need, but that relationship 5 years later could be helpful. Like I've met journalists in Cannes before, and they're very pleasant, but I can't help them, they can't help me. We just say hello and that's it. But now we're at a place where we can go to them and say, I've been bumping into you for 5 years. Do you want to talk about this thing that I've got? And I'm not just cold emailing someone, I'm talking to them on a different level. But I only have that because I have a relationship where I've just said hello to them and been pleasant. And, we don't have coffees and meet up. It's not like they're best friends, it's just acquaintances. And they say that actually those types of acquaintances are normally the ones that help you more than your best friends or more than your closest acquaintances, because the people who are closest to you have the same access to the same opportunities you do. So you would probably know about it. Whereas it's the people outside of that in the wider network that say, actually, I know someone who knows the right actor for your project. Let me connect you with them. So I think the more of those little connections that you can have, the more people you've got access to when you're at the right level, and the more people that they might introduce you to as well.
That's so how do you balance putting together this amazing curriculum and still taking care of your own projects, your own films? What is that?
Yeah. It can be challenging sometimes. Last year we tried to do, I say last year we did the biggest program we've ever done, which we did. And then this year we're now doing the biggest program we've ever done.
Wonderful.
Um, I think for me, last year I didn't really prioritize my own projects because we were doing things that were quite difficult and I felt that they were very important. So the relationship that we made with the Marché last year, where we had our first panel within the Marché, that was massively significant for us. And I know that that relationship was worth more long term than if I'd spent a bit less time working on those projects and then maybe a bit more time on my own film at that time. But I think I've got better at stepping back and saying, okay, what is it that I'm doing? I think last year was also challenging because Granny DJ was stuck in post-production because the team I was working with were having some issues. And so that project was stalled. And although I was quite frustrated, in the end, I ended up being invited to sit on a panel at Sitges Film Festival last year. And so that's like one of the biggest genre film festivals in the world. And I met some incredible contacts within the genre industry because of that. And now, Granny DJ being a horror comedy, it's now hitting festivals. I have a deeper understanding of the festival circuit in the horror space. I have relationships that I didn't have previously. And that doesn't mean they're going to select me, but I think it's important to know that the more that you know, the better it's going to be. So I understand within Sitges, there probably isn't a section that my film would fit into, and that's fine. Like I understand what they program now, so I can understand the types of projects that they would want. Ours is a bit more silly and it's a bit more comedy than horror, so I understand that the festivals now, that I've met different contacts who said, well, actually, this festival would be really interesting for your project. And so I think that's really helped it find its home. Whereas if I had finished Granny DJ last year and hit the festival circuit before, I don't know whether, it would have been completely different. So although I haven't always prioritized my own projects like I would like to, I have got better this year. And normally what I do is I say like between January and May, I just work on Cannes. And then between May and January, I get to work more on my own projects. Um, But this year I've been able to do a little bit more of both. I think because I've been bringing in a few people to help, like we have some journalists this year who are writing for us, and we have different contributors who are doing workshops and things. And we have a few existing relationships, so we've been able to get some finance for some of the things we're doing a bit quicker. So I've been able to spend less time making pitch decks and, trying to find money in that way and spend a bit more time on some other stuff. So I had a difficult moment 2 months ago where I was feeling a bit disappointed about the feature that I've been developing. And someone had asked me how it was going. And that's kind of a dreaded question when you know you haven't done anything with it for a few months. You're like, oh, please don't ask me that. Um, but it did make me really think about Cannes actually, and think about coming to Cannes and saying like, I haven't really done anything because I've been busy with other stuff. And that sort of gave me a little bit of a kick to say, okay, what is the next step? Like what is something that I can do? And I saw a writer's lab, and the script is something that I've been wanting support with for a while. And it's my first feature, so I thought, it'd be good to speak to someone, get some support. And it was a female writers lab, and it was set in Italy, which my film is set in Italy. So I just felt like maybe I should just try this. And it was during a week when I had some pretty big deadlines for Cannes. And I still made myself take a day to do the application because I was like, you do need to make sure that you are also looking after yourself. So I did the application. Um, and yes, I can't announce anything officially yet. But safe to say it was worth the investment. And it's going to be just before Cannes. So I'm also going to be taking a week off just before Cannes to go on this retreat. But I think I'm really happy that I'm doing it and that I'm making sure that I zoom out as well and look at my bigger goals, because what I do at Cannes I think is really important, and I can see the ripple effect we have supporting women in the industry, and we can see the changes that are happening, like even from the programming we're doing. But I also am a filmmaker at heart, and people have said, you could just give up making films and just run Yes You Can, and that could be, your contribution to the industry. And every time someone says that to me, my heart sinks a little because although I love what I do with Yes You Can, I also love making movies and telling stories. So, yeah, I think it's important that I keep reminding myself that.
But you're a filmmaker.
Yeah,
Filmmaker means doing many things. It's like you just don't do one or two things. And
yeah,
that's what you do. And so, of course, you can do Yes, You Can and these other projects. And your mom, too. So you are
yes,
definitely doing it all. But I find that so inspiring because we as women, we do have to remember to put ourselves first, even just carving out a small amount of time, because if we don't have that, then we get overwhelmed or we don't take care of ourselves. And so I'm so proud of you for doing that. You saw an opportunity and you took it. And so many people have that fear factor where they're like, oh, well, I won't win it, or oh, I have to do this instead. You prioritized it and something great's coming of it. You planted a seed that's probably going to be freaking amazing. So
yeah,
that's that's a great inspiration for other women too. It's like, so
yeah,
yes, you can, can make it happen, and you are. And that I think that's what I love about your program. Yes, you can, because you put your heart into it. You can do anything, and you're
yeah.
proof. So
And just like believing in yourself, like it's funny, I get the girls repeat some of my advice back to me in Cannes sometimes because I'll be teaching all these things, and then a lot of the advice that I teach is because I needed to hear it once, and I probably need to hear it again, and so do you, because you need to be reminded of these things. Um, but yeah, it's very special to be able to contribute to the industry and to be able to see things improving in ways that I think will have, an impact on the stories that we see on the screen, which, I'm a really firm believer that the stories that we see on screen will affect culture, and they do change people's lives. They change how people feel about things. As humans, we're such big storytellers. It's a really big part of who we are. So I think if I can have even a small part in helping more women succeed to be able to tell their stories, then I'll be very happy.
Well, I think that's what's so wonderful too. It's such a collaborative effort. You know, you gain all kinds of minds together. It's so many different talents. And of course, there are egos too. So you learn how to balance, navigate. What do you think about AI pretty much taking over everything? How do you think that's going to affect something like the Cannes Film Festival, or even Yes, You Can?
I kind of see AI as a tool, and I think any tool can be abused. And I've seen people abusing it already. There's some very dodgy AI posters going around where the actors don't look anything like the actors from the actual film because they've clearly done something with that. Um, but I think it ultimately is a tool and it will change things in the same way that VFX changed things and in the same way that when we had modern advancements like the car, a lot of people were very upset who had horse and carts because, that was their livelihood and now we have machines. And I think it is obviously going to be quite dramatic. And I think some industries, like some sectors of industries, are going to struggle more than others. Like, of course, the VFX industry is going to take, quite a big hit because there's so much that can be done for so much less time through using those tools. But I think overall, I think AI is going to be one of these things that it's not whether we should use it, it's how we should use it responsibly. And it's how we should be using it to support our creativity and not to replace our creativity. So, one of the reasons I'm able to do more than I used to be able to do is because I do use like Chat GPT to help support me with things. And again, with someone with ADHD, I find it's really helpful for me to vent and say things and then get feedback and say, does this tone feel right? Is this the right way to write this? And to say, oh, you're coming across a bit defensive. I'm like, okay, I'll take that out. So I do feel like there are ways that are helping. Obviously, some people have seen, putting an idea in and creating a whole book without even looking at it. Don't agree with that. I think that comes under irresponsible AI. But yeah, I think it is going to be something that we can either embrace and work out how we can utilize it while also like finding the right balance. Or the people that I think completely reject it and refuse to work with it, I think are going to be a little bit left behind. And unfortunately, in filmmaking, like other businesses, money does matter. It is a business. Like, if you just want to make films that you just pay to make a movie and it doesn't make any money, that's fine if you've got millions and you're happy to spend them on that. But just like with artists, like some of the greatest artists have been very poor, but they only needed paint and a piece of paper and they could, make incredible creations. If they needed 100 million to make this incredible creation, would we have got, the art from them? So I think it's going to make it more accessible to some filmmakers. So maybe certain things that are only accessible right now to big budgets will become easier for indie film. But again, like I said before, at the same time, I think we have to be responsible. And, there's a lot of ethical questions around the idea of the models that it's working on and how it's being trained. And I think that needs to be something that is looked at to see, what the solution is there. I don't think people should have their work fed in. Like, I have voiceover friends who, that is a very big problem for them. And I do think at the moment you can still tell with AI voiceover. I don't know if that's going to be the same in a year or two. And I don't know what that's going to mean for them. And, that is awful. To wake up overnight and have your job taken by AI, whatever your job is, that is pretty devastating. But I do think that it is here and it is growing. So we need to work out how we work with it and not against it.
It's like the wild, wild west. There really are no rules and people are going crazy. It's exciting too.
Yeah. And it was like that film, I can't remember the actor, but like he did an accent and one of the sounds wasn't quite right. And they used an AI program to just make him sound a little bit more true to the authentic accent. And I think things like that is incredible because it's like, he would never have been able to get that sound because of where he's from, I think that's great. Should the actor be replaced by an AI robot? No. So it's like,
It's going to be interesting as long as we're not Terminator in the making, you know. So yeah, hopefully not.
yeah.
Anyway, so if people want to go to Cannes, are men invited to be part of Yes You Can? Pretty much sticking to women filmmakers and giving them their own space.
So for the community itself, it's focused around women. I think, especially at Cannes, it's such a heavily male-dominated place that women can often feel very underrepresented. And historically, Cannes has been run by the big boys. So I think women do really need the support. And also, I think the community. Someone said to me recently on a WhatsApp group, it was an open group, and they said, "Oh, what about men? Why is there no community for men?" And I just thought, well, you can make a community if you're lacking in some way. Like if there's something that you're craving, that you want to create meetups, like I invested my time and my money because I believed in it. And if you want to do that, I saw something recently. I think there's a Scottish group that goes to Cannes now and they have events. And, I think there are lots of different communities and different things happening. So, in terms of like our community, the She Squad, that's centered around women. But we do often have events which are for everyone. And I think one of the big things that we want to make sure of within our community is that we're not an angry feminist community. We're actually very supportive of bringing men and women together while also acknowledging that women do need different support and that women have different needs and that things, structured differently for women because they are different. And actually, we have an event this year which hasn't been announced yet. But we're having a Meet the Members event this year where it's our She Squad and then it's open for all genders, for everyone to attend to meet our members. And the idea of that is that we're going to elevate our members above so that they get that visibility and that we're talking about some of our members within the community. And then people can come to the event to meet them. So I think that's one of the ways that we're sort of championing women and giving them that visibility and giving them that support while also bringing men into the conversation. Because, I always say a lot of women's events, you're sort of preaching to the choir when you're talking about why women need more support and there's no men in the room. But that's why we try and have, a few mixed events as well. So different events have got different purposes. It's not just about having a party. Like we have an opening event, which is our welcome workshop, which we just announced. And that's about sort of setting your intentions and getting yourself mentally prepared for the festival. And we sort of talk a little bit about looking after yourself and making sure that you take time to relax as well, because it can get a bit chaotic, so that hopefully our members are going into the festival feeling like they're sort of recharged and in the right mindset. But then hopefully remembering throughout the festival that we said, make sure that you have nutrition and that you're not just stopping at the burger shop because not good nutrition is going to take an effect on you if you're there for a week and you're just living off fast food and rosé. So that's like very specific sort of purpose to that. And then, we have our Meet the Members, which the purpose of that is to help people meet some of our community. Um, so yeah, there's lots of different things that we're putting together and still lots we haven't announced yet.
Okay, so if someone wants to join who plans on going, how can they reach out to you?
So if you go onto the website, yesshecan.com, spelled cans, CANNES, then you can go onto the She Squad and you can find out all about it. Or if you want to follow us on social media, we post lots of things on there. So you can follow us on Instagram, which is where we're most present. And yeah, you can see a little bit about what we're putting together. And then there's also links on there to different things we're doing as well.
And then once you're a member, you're part of the WhatsApp group, correct?
Yeah. Yes, so there's like a whole welcome pack that we've done. So it will tell you about you can join the WhatsApp group, you can join the school platform, which is where all the education lives. There's also a calendar, so if you're not sure about where the events are, you can go on the calendar and just quickly see what's happening. We're also going to put some of the events that come up on there as well, like the We Audition Party. We'll just make a note in case you're hoping to get a ticket for that. So we offer lots of support through the WhatsApp to say, oh, tickets are open for this if you want to get them. But then it'll also live on the school platform so that you can go and have a look yourself as well. And then there's a little bit of the community on the school platform as well if you want to see a little bit about who's attending as well.
So now, okay, now if someone's interested in your work, how do they find out about that?
So I'm on Instagram as well. I think Instagram is such a great platform for creatives, personally. I feel like TikTok for me is very it's more trendy in my opinion, and I just don't resonate with it at all. And I think Facebook is more like friends and family, whereas for me, I think Instagram is king because you can post lots of beautiful visuals, and yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram, as is Yes You Can. So yeah, I'm on Lil Faith, which you might need to link, but it's Lilfaif. I came up with it 10 years ago, I think, maybe. I don't know why, but it's stuck. So yeah, I'm on there if you want to follow my work and follow updates about what's going on and
Well, I
follow my announcement next week.
Yes, I'm very excited to hear that, and I will definitely share that. I will share all your links. I'm very excited for all that you're doing. I'm bummed I'm not going to be able to go to con this year,
I
but
know.
next year, and hopefully with a big.
Being a founding member and for supporting, like, it's so amazing to have so much support. And like when we have people in the community like you who genuinely care and are genuinely, wanting to see other women do well and supporting it and offering opportunities like this to share our message, it makes such a big difference because our community is built by our members. It's built by people like you that give into the community, that build everyone up. And that's why this year it's all about collective power. And this is a great example of that. Like you doing something, going out of your way to support the members and to support us. It's really appreciated.
It's such a competitive business, and there are so many men who are not very open to listening to a woman, which makes no sense to me, but whatever. So just to see that women have the passion to do it. We're all over the world. We have talents and ideas, and we need to come together to share them. And of course, you can have people like, I'm like, that's fine. That's what we do as humans. But I love that you are offering a space for women to really stretch and grow as a creative. And I'm so proud of you, for doing it because that takes so much courage, to give up your time and your money to really do this for other people. Granted, it's like, you're doing it for something inside of you, but you are affecting and inspiring so many people. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Um, Thank you.
So we will talk again soon. Thank you very much. And thank you for doing some time traveling with me. This is kind of awesome.